Hey there, welcome to Painting with a Huguenot. I've now undercoated these guys. These are the Wildcats from the Corregidor Jurisdictional Force. Yes, I've undercoated them in purple. It's actually MTN spray paint. You may think this is a bad idea, but the colour scheme I'm going to be using is going to be purple and green. And I'm just going to do these as, I don't know, long play videos I suppose. Using a wet palette that I've made just with a bit of white sponge bought from the cheapest source I could possibly get, and a bit of baking parchment. And it has to be baking parchment, not greaseproof powder. Not greaseproof paper, because greaseproof paper is actually waterproof, and so it doesn't work. It's really annoying. I'm using a 000 brush. This is just for base coating. I'll probably go onto a 50 brush later on when I'm coming to doing sort of fine detail work, because to be quite frank, these miniatures are teeny, and I really want to bring out as much of the detail as I can. Yes, I am using a purple undercoat. I sprayed ever so lightly because, well, I was worried that I might lose detail if I gave it too thorough a coating of paint. Some of these guys you can see are a bit darker. Yeah, so I'm just giving these a base coat in grey, and I'll let some of the undercoat show through. Those of you that paint with black undercoats will be well aware that this is a great technique for getting miniatures on the table quickly. But there is also just an element of taking care. And if you are wondering why I'm sat here blathering on, it's really because if you wanted videos or just stuff that you could have on whilst you're painting, I thought I would do this. Also, if you like any of the paint jobs, you can see how they're achieved. You might think they're all rubbish, and that's up to you. But hopefully I will achieve the cinematic styling that I wish to achieve. Maybe I should have done this a bit denser, but I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to grey everything up first. I'm going to do these three as a sort of batch because they're because they grunt. And as everybody that plays wargaming knows, batch paint your grunts, because, well, otherwise you'll just spend forever painting everything. What I do intend to do, and as you can see, I'm not actually being too careful. I'm trying to come across any detail lines so that they get picked out by brush stroke, starting to build up definition immediately. I don't think you can really afford with miniatures to well, I don't think you want to minimise the amount of paint you use, really. That's just my opinion. But I don't think, you don't want 10 coats of paint on the thing. It's fine to go through 10 tiers of sort of highlighting and improving the detail in incremental stages, but the other thing is, you're probably all shouting at me about is you're handling the miniature, you're going to remove paint. It's like, yep, that is true. But I decided I'm just going to have to live with it because, well, I could have fixed them to something. I suppose I could just super glue them down onto a base. In fact, at some point, that might be something that happens. I might use their slot bases as temporary feet super glue them on. I'm just going to see, because it depends on how much. Yeah, I'm already damaging these pretty badly. Maybe I'll just do that. I'll just do a cut and I'll super glue the well. I suppose I could do it on camera, but I don't actually want to trash these. I do run the risk of doing that, which is no good. I'd hate to waste all of this super fine detail. I need to trash it with my blooming greasy paws. Okay, I think I'm just going to be back in a moment because I'm very concerned I'm trashing these miniatures right now. Yeah, I'm just checking down a bit of paper, and again, not necessarily the best thing, but I'm just going to glue these onto slot bases and then I'll be able to tear them off at a later point, so bear with, I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so back again. Yeah, just super glued these guys down. Mostly because I just don't want to get my hands all over them. Also, it makes it marginally easier, I suppose. It gives you something to hold where you're not actually gripping onto the miniature too tightly or anything. In some respects, also, you can see things a bit more clearly. Get into bits, otherwise it might not get properly. So yeah, I suppose just going to talk a bit about why I'm doing what I'm doing. Partly it's because I think Corregidor are a really great company. They've been around for quite a long time. It's deceptive in fact, because I remember coming across a 15mm stuff for historical a long time ago. So they have been about in sort of the general scene of miniature wargaming for a fair old while. Also, you know what, they make really beautiful miniatures. I'm actually really loving that I'm working in metal, although I mean, the thing I used to love about metal was the weight of it, but these are incredibly light, but that's because they're such finely crafted miniatures. And I decided that, well, I'm going to attempt to paint these up so they look cinematic, hence the name. Well, partly hence the name. The other thing, hopefully, by this point, there's going to be battle reports out there, and hopefully they will look very cinematic. Well, that's my aim. Not sure whether I'm going to manage to achieve it or not, but time shall tell, as it always does. I'm base coating everything in a heavy charcoal, extra opaque paint. Not being mega careful. There's not good coverage more than anything at the moment. Like I say, I'm leaving some of the purple showing through because I want it to have purple in the recesses, or the deepest recesses, because that's going to kind of be how I tie all these units together. I'm also using the pictures on the front to reference what bits should be what, because that's actually somewhat handy to know. I'm using natural light, but I also have a good old angle poise for additional lighting, which I'm just going to do a quick wig over because it's not quite directly over. No, given a slight wiggle because it's not quite directly overhead. And the other thing that's really nice about these is in some respects they're so detailed that they, pardon my bottom. Yes, I am an incredibly flatulent beast. One of my own personal self-hate things, I think. Yep, I'll just drop stuff as well. But I'm hoping that if you, it gives you something to just put on in the background if you want to sit down and paint. Also, you can really see, get a sense of time. There really is no rush. In fact, if you want to paint miniatures well, you should take as much time as you possibly can. Sorry, just have been having a war with my Hellcat as well. Being a Hellcat, she decided to come to pieces, and I just had to re-glue her. Absolute pleasure. I'm just gonna tag in where this sort of leather comes around. We've managed to get the sort of collars within collars effect, and I want to maintain that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you out there are probably better than me at this. Try to keep the miniature facing the light so I not get my hands in the way. I don't, but some people use magnifying lenses and such forth as well. Don't know whether that really helps. Only one way to find out, and if you do try it, you might find it suits you very well. The other thing I'm trying to use with the base coat is as you apply it, and it leaves, you don't try and get it into all of the gaps, you leave the undercoat in there, which is an undercoating in black technique that no doubt many of you know. It means that it starts to bring out the details so that you know what you're working on later. I don't know about you, but quite often I find that it's quite difficult to actually decide where one part of a miniature begins and the next part ends. And so, the sooner you can start bringing out that differentiation, the better, in my opinion. I'm trying to maintain the sort of biker leather look. I'm not going for sort of black and red. I gave it some thought, and as ever I changed into purple and green because apparently I just want everything to be purple and green, just like the dude who colour schemes stuff at Corvus Belli seems to want everything in black and red. I believe I saw an interview where Carlos, the head of the art and design, I think, he was talking about him and saying, oh, he goes and plays football or something at the weekend in his what's he called, superhero dude. Well, that's gonna bug me. Either way, he dresses in black and red. Oh, that's really gonna annoy me. And so he also tries to make every single faction dress in black and red, which is all fair and well, but I've never been a fan of red. In fact, one of the reasons I'm steering clear of red on these as well is I'm going to do my Japanese sectorial army in red and white, with brown and orange details to tie them, well, orange to tie them in with the Yujin, or Yuqing, I think it should be, but also with the white and red, because you know it's the Japanese flag, isn't it? It's the white background, or the field or with the circle rouge, and the sun, the setting sun, or the rising sun. As you say, the sun rises in the east after all. I'm hoping that this is all visible and I'm not constantly putting shadow over it, because you can see what I'm doing. These hands, I think ultimately are going to be a pig, just because they're teeny weeny. These are not, 15mm to one side, because 15mm there's normally the proportions of the miniature change so that they become easy to paint. But the smallest sort of miniature in terms of this kind of thing, I've painted up some, let's see if I can find them at some point, but true 25mm bubblegum crisis minis I actually have somewhere buried in the darkest recesses. The bubblegum crisis team, so all four of the ladies' power armour, which you never know, they might turn up as mobile brigadas or something at some point, or some kind of power armoured unit for somebody, just because it would amuse me more than anything. Also, I'm a big anime fan. It's one of the real appeals of Infinity for me. If you haven't seen it and you're into Infinity, you really should go and watch everything to do with Ghost in the Shell and to do with Appleseed. I would say that the work of Masamune Shirow, he's basically my favourite anime guy, or manga artist, story writer of all time. I mean, if you go and look at Appleseed, Ghost in the Shell, Black Magic, even Dominion Tank Police, I suppose, but that's a bit less serious. You look at the character design, the mecha design, and it's like, to me, that is what Corvus Belli has taken and distilled into miniature format. I've created a game with that kind of super high-tech aesthetic, which I rather enjoy. So I'm actually not going to make you sit through me undercutting all of these and just babbling on, so babbling. So I am gonna sort of do a few cuts, just so you're not having, I'll show each stage on each miniature, say, or not each miniature, on each type of miniature, so that you're not actually watching me paint all three of these guys. But it doesn't take long. But on the same note, it'll probably take me an hour to base coat up all of these, and you probably don't want to just listen to me babble and watch me base coating. Unless of course you're painting, in which case, awesome. I hope you're painting something, and I hope it turns out better than how mine ended up turning out. Of course I want mine to turn out amazingly awesome, and so that means that yours should be even better. So these guys I've done all the grey on them. It's not absolutely immaculate, but it's absolutely fine. It'll get cleaned up with each tier of painting. I'm gonna move on to starting to base coat all the green areas that I want. I think these guys are going to be the greenbacks, so in the pictures I've got them done where the leathers are kind of the entire thing, but I'm going to do the back. I think I might do the shoulder pads as well, or I'm going to do the details in green. I'll think about the shoulder pads a bit more whilst I'm doing it. So yeah, I'm just using the heavy black green as a base. I'm going to take it up to like a lime green by the end of it. Starting to have to be a bit more careful. Don't want to go over the areas of grey which I want to be kept the grey that they are, so natural light's much better, but especially with the aid of an angle poise, I'll artificial light can be very useful. Nothing else, just to boost the light in the area you're working. However, you can see it sort of shades quite heavily, whereas natural light tends to not create areas of deep shade whilst you're painting, which can be a nuisance. So yeah, I'm just picking out the back. I'm going to leave this bit, that'll match the shoulder pads. I might do the shoulder pads in purple, I'm not sure yet. So I'm doing the back. Just want to make sure that it's got a decent coat of paint, because yeah, I've done a shitty job in priming. And I actually don't want the paint to start peeling off, because that would be rubbish. In the case of this one, I'm just going to tag in these bits. There's a whole series of details where the straps join on, and I'm just going to try and clip top back bits of those, so the clip mechanism is part of that. Come around to the front. Again, I'm not duplicating the scheme that's on the covers exactly. I'll paint the breastplates, and I'm also going to paint the belly pad in the green. Yeah, mostly just for my own satisfaction here. I just fancied the variation in the detail. Also, I'm a keen believer in come up with your own damn paint schemes. I'm not utterly against all this. Oh, you should paint them in this clan or this group, and if you have them painted in this way so they conform with this, they get special rules benefits. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. And actually I find that really quite annoying. Also, when you're base coating, be careful that you choose the colour which you wish to be most into the recesses to do first. This is just in order to avoid accidentally painting over stuff later. It's much easier to paint the higher surfaces than it is to paint the recessed surfaces, which is pretty obvious if you think about it. And I'm sure, well, common sense will have told most of you, and you probably don't need me to tell you that at all. So let's know what you think of the scheme. But right now it kind of doesn't really look like anything. The scheme will really start to come together once I got to the later stages of painting and started to drag all of the green up into sort of a lime green. As a rule, when you come up with a colour scheme, don't use too many colours. Try and limit it to, I don't know, probably 2 or 3, or have one sort of significant colour as such which will run through everything, and then you can vary each unit colour. Much in the way historically they would have done it. Historically, like, you take the British redcoats, and yeah, okay, they all wear red coats, but they all have different facings, different pipings. You know, they don't all have gold braiding. Well, depending on what era you're looking at, actually. But a lot of the time there'd be quite a lot of variation. And if you look historically as well, You can start bringing in particular regiments. I often find that each regiment has a subtle, if not quite obvious, variation that makes the armies more interesting. You might even find that you can have miniatures. I used to really like the old, if you could use when naval regiments were fighting on land, because it gave you the sort of the turquoise and white combination that you wouldn't otherwise have in a British regular army. And I just liked it because it stood out. Also, they wore the boaters rather, or sort of broad-brimmed hats rather than certainly in American War of Independence they did anyway. And it added just a bit of interest to the army as a whole, so you could have, especially if you're painting 50mm and you're painting like tons and tons and tons of them, because that way at least you could have that small piece of variety. Yeah, I'm going to introduce the green to the helmet as well now. Again, I'm kind of copying that. Partly I'm using the already painted image as a guide as to what parts of the miniature are actually what, because it may just be that I'm an idiot, but I often find it's actually quite difficult to tell what part of a miniature, unless it's sort of historical, where you can look at uniform reference material, or it's something which has a highly established sort of background with tons and tons and tons of artwork, so it's sort of so familiar or so easy to find points of reference, frames of reference that can't really go wrong. You can see there's just a tiny little blob, and I'm actually going to make that little blob part of the green, and I think I'm just going to run green under the jaw, so you'll get that little flash of green under the edge of the helmet, like indicating that, sorry, there is a visor and something that the visor can latch onto. The other area, I am going to copy what's been done with the boots there, and pick out the line which is the top line. And this is just to create a bit of gloves and boots, or hats and boots, or belts and boots, heads, belts, boots, gloves and boots, and then heads and belts. There are these sort of rules, if you like, of fashion and accessorizing, which are actually, I'm making this not good. Which are actually worth knowing from a painting point of view, just so you understand which areas, especially if you're creating your own colour schemes, just so you understand which areas need to be tied in together to make the colour scheme look right. And when I say right, I mean look like something you might actually wear, as opposed to, oh, I'm going to slap this colour on here because I like the idea of it. Now, I can't see very well. It could be that my eyesight is diminishing. Hope not. That would be rubbish. Although I do find personally, as the day goes on and I'm painting for prolonged periods of time, my eyes do get tired. So do bear that in mind. That if your eyes are getting tired, stop painting. Put it down for 5-10 minutes, come back to it once your eyes have had a chance to rest up a bit. Go and look at something far away as well. Go out onto the street or look out of a window. Because basically what's happening is you're spending too long at the same focal distance. And that is what is causing your eyes to play tricks on you and mess you about. You don't really want that. You want your eyes to be good and healthy. So the other thing I'm finding is just moving the angle point just so and attempt to get light into the darkness. Once again, I'm just going to finish picking out the green on this one, and I'll come back to you once I've finished all of them. And I just want you to consider that when you are painting, contrast is important, but also clean lines are important, and if you can get the lines clean to begin with, it will save you a whole mess of trouble later. On the flip side, at some point I might give it a shot with Aleph. I haven't decided yet. Who knows, it might already be out there. At some point I think I'm actually going to do some miniatures entirely using sort of watercolour techniques, just building up washes and working from a white ground, sort of white undercoat, and sort of revealing the detail using ink, and then sort of picking out and inking and picking out. Also revealing things by allowing the miniature to dictate the details and sort of dry brushing, and then it's difficult to explain. Wash, put in a light colour, wash, put in a light colour, but also if you lay sort of green over red, it makes the green kind of zing, so you might use a light colour as a red and then wash a green over the top, so, or vice versa, you might use a light green, or if you want an orangey finish you might use a yellow and then wash red over. So that means you can kind of paint in a it would be called a loose way, where rather than trying to do this where everything's sort of meticulous and obviously not, but attempting to be perfect. Just noticing I've missed edges and underbits. You can actually allow the miniature to do the work for you. And I think that these miniatures, despite it being a shallow casting, if you like, they're incredibly detailed. I have a funny feeling that that kind of method might work very well. It particularly works well with flesh. Okay, that's by the by. So I hope you're enjoying, and I will get back to you once I've greened up all the rest of these guys who are going to be my greenbacks. After Colonel Greenback from Danger Mouse, I suppose. Enjoy, see you in a bit. Green's all done on, can't really see it very clearly, it's very similar in tone to others. Decided So actually I'm going to do the shoulder pads and the central back bit. I'm actually going to do these in yellow. So I'm just using a base tone of heavy gold brown. All of these are the extra opaques because, well, this is a base coat slash undercoat, you know, because I've done such a bad job on priming them. Again, I'm not too fussed about you know, it doesn't have to be a perfect paint job. Also, when you're painting yellow, especially if you're using a dark undercoat, excuse me there, sorry, it's really important to get, I mean I might have to do 2 coats, just it's really important to get this a coat of paint which is opaque enough so that when you paint yellow onto it, it actually comes out yellow and not sort of mustard. I'll probably even lay white up over this at some point so that there is a natural tonal variation, because yellow, I mean this is a fairly, so far as I can tell anyway, we'll see with time, but the Vallejo paints, they're very transparent, which is a good thing, but it means you have to take that transparency into account. You know, you can't expect clean, opaque colours from a very transparent paint. Also, yellow, good contrasting colour with purple, it will make the purple sit much further back and help to bring it forward. And yeah, I am going to be bringing the green up to lime green colours, but I think yellow and sort of bright green sits very well together. In fact, yellow will help to make a bright green look a little bit less intense. And I'm not actually keen on sort of super bright miniatures. Never really liked those kind of bright garish colour schemes. Sometimes they look amazing. On paper artwork, like, or 2D artwork, often they look really amazing. As you can see it's not very even, so I'm just applying another coat just to try and get a nice even opacity to it all. And again, I'm just going to show you this one, and then I will do the rest, so you don't have to get bored sick of watching me do fairly mundane tasks. But as you can see, I mean, as soon as you put it on, it starts to like make the miniature look like a miniature. And it's these kind of little details that really, or contrasting colours really, that build up a decent looking colour scheme. It is important to get this kind of thing right. Don't get me wrong, it's easier to copy somebody else's colour scheme, but I'm not, like I say, I'm not really keen on the idea. I like my guys to be my guys, and I don't want to be penalised for you know, not towing a company line on how something should be. These guys look like this, they can't look any other way. It's like, are you for real? I'm paying to play this game. I want to play it how I want to play it. I don't want to be penalised for not fulfilling the company's desires to make a profit. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for supporting companies. But on the same note, I mean, unless you're a tournament playing power game, I mean, I hope to, maybe at some point I'll move into playing tournaments. Quite like the idea. I haven't done anything like that for a long time. I've never really played tournaments. But no, I quite like the idea just to meet the wider community, and also because I really like the sort of potential to be involved with an international scene, which is actually something that Corvus Belli has done a remarkable job of. Not only with the Infinity tournament system, which is allows you to get ratings versus players on an international basis, but also on things like sort of Strike Zone Wotan and Paradiso campaign, where they are actually inviting we the public, we the players, to not only play their game and participate, but to in some respects help to shape their world. I do believe that they are taking the information from these public campaigns that they run and are using them as the basis of what happens next, so that we the players can in fact influence the world of Infinity, our games, our unit actions, the factions we choose to support, and they will kind of affect the world. I think that's a really wonderful thing. It's uncommon, to say the least. So yeah, I think I'm just going to do the shoulder pads, and it's kind of, well, it's going to start beige, but I'll take it up to a sort of cadmium yellow, straight flush yellow. I might even just clear out the purple in that. Like I say, it's kind of important to have these very flush. What I'll probably end up doing is running white highlights, and then use the translucency of the paint to re-pick out those dark lines. Where these sort of glowing bits are, I think I'm going to do those purple. I haven't decided what colour to do the face mask yet. I might even just go for the black, but first of all I want to sort of run these lines in. I think I'm going to have to run them in white first, and then I'll probably use, I might even go luminous, and kind of run luminous blue. In fact, I think I might do the luminous on these two panels on the arms as well. Not so fussed about this, and actually I'm just going to block in, get right into the depth there. I am going to keep these yellow and more like attachment points. I don't want them to be glowing. And the question is, luminous yellow belts or bright yellow belts? Not sure. Okay, well, I'll get these done and show you what's happened. I've finished the base coats for the yellow now. Got the opacity right up. Took 2, sometimes 3 coats, depending how thinly the paint went out. So I'm just going to get some white and I'm just going to run it down the veins on the head and around the luminescent parts of the, I think they're comm logs. And I'm probably going to do this really badly, so please forgive me. Because this is going to be the base for luminous blue. The reason I'm doing this first like this is it will be easier, well, I think it will be easier to cut in the panels than it will be to paint in the lines. So I'm just going to cut in the lines. Yeah, it's a reasonable job, but it's difficult. I mean, I'm just resting the base against. Actually, I'm really glad I stopped using the base, otherwise this would have been an absolute nightmare to paint. Just trying to brace hands so that you can get clean into the actual gap. I think I did it next to the gap. Oops. This is why I'm doing this first. Much like eyes, if you can do eyes, paint in the whites first and then cut the face in around them. Even do that last. I'm just looking as well, and I think that Sam doesn't write them right down to the chin, but I'm really driving, which is doing this bit coming out the back. And I do have a. This is a 5-0 paintbrush now, by the way. You have one paintbrush which has like one hair that I have to cut down, which I might end up using for some things at some point, but not if I can possibly avoid it. Again, really take your time. There's an element of breathe, hold your breath, pretend you're a sniper, I suppose, and paint as you hold your breath. Well, obviously I'm trying to talk at the same time, which is not conducive to good painting. So yeah, I'm just going to cut in these lines, and I'm going to just block in these as well. I'm going to try using luminescent paint, but I'll probably also end up mixing the paint with a bit of white, even though it's meant to be luminous and glow by itself a bit. But luminescence only works when it's dark, and not always going to be dark. And I quite want these to look like they're glowing. So, oh shit. Timing. I'm not too fussed about this, but try and keep it as clean as possible. Yeah, but also a little detail like this. And if you want to make it sort of look like it's glowing, you don't want to do too much work, just drop a bit of ink in. And that'll do most of the work for you. It'll stain it all blue, it'll give it a solid tint, and additionally it will highlight for you as well as shade, and you can get it so it looks very light. You might need to rub down ink a bit, that requires a bit of experimentation. Don't know, I'm still waiting for my Vallejo inks at the moment, but and that's actually quite frustrating. I like using inks, some people don't. And some people might say that on miniatures like this as well, that they're unnecessary. You should paint the angel way, which is all very, it's meticulous painting. It's sort of cutting in and making your paint moister than it is, so you can then move it about. So it's all about putting paint on and then removing it. This is how it gets those really even tones. Again, you can find out more about that. There are plenty of painters out there that are much better than me and apply these techniques much better than I do. Some people might even say that you should work on each bit, but I think that's all the white I'm going to be adding. And yeah, I'll get back to you in a mo. That's the white all done. Just gonna immediately drop in fluorescent blue. Mostly because I want to put in the palette. I'm going to do the face mask. Purple, so that'll be the shout out to the purple green colour scheme that I'm trying to do. This is actually very thin and behaves somewhat like an ink, which is quite convenient because, as you can see, it's immediately doing a sort of highlighting effect effectively for me, which is kind of convenient, as it means that I won't have to fuff with it later and possibly bodge it up. Not being too fussy. Just want to get paint in there. I might have to go and try and tile it up later, but that detail comes out beautifully. Yeah. Dancing it up a bit. Dancing, that's not a word. Make the pigment denser so that it. I'm just going to manoeuvre this. I don't want the sponge to get any blue paint on it. I'm using a white sponge just so that you can actually see the colour of the paint that's sat on it clearly. This is very translucent. It actually kind of suits me, because it makes it less of an issue if I get it over adjacent surfaces. All no doubt do. But what I'm hoping this will do is give me a really vibrant blue, and then I'm gonna map the mask up, and there'll be some blue, and if you can hear that in the background, I hope it shuts up because it's just a call centre. I really hate call centres calling me. It's like, especially when they seem to do that thing where they behave like they're doing you a favour and actually they're just annoying the hell out of you. But yeah, so that's the fluorescent blue just running. Again, still using a 5-0 brush. Did give this paint a damn good shape before I used it, by the way. So this is kind of the thickness the paint just comes out as. It's not just that I've been lazy or anything. And again, as I build up other paint colours, this will all get cleaned up, so yeah. There's the blue. I'm just going to do the other guys and then I will get back to you. Run the blue into all the white lines that I've just done. I'm just going to cut purple into the mask side that I'm going to do the face mask purple. I'm just going to keep it very dark though. So now the hard part, which is actually cutting in cleanly. So this is the other reason for doing the blue first, is that it gives you the opportunity to cut a darker colour that you want into up to the edge of the lighter colour, which is now sat in the recess. Basically any colour that sits in the recess you want to do first. So wanting a light colour in the recess, you I'll cut up to the light colour. This is going to be the hardest bit, just running down the centre of the helmets. This is where I'm probably going to mess it up. You can all giggle. This won't be the end. I will do highlights, possibly actually D-lights. I quite like the idea of these being sort of almost black purple. So again, take your time if you're doing anything like this. Don't rush it. Get it right and endeavour to get it right first time. It is obviously easier said than done. Don't expect him to mess it up very badly. That's coming together. Hope you can see clearly what I'm doing. I'm holding the brush at an angle so that I'm trying not to, basically don't want to point the brush at the line because you might inadvertently push it into the gap, whereas if you hold it at an angle it should just stick to the edge of the raised surface, and that will give you a pretty clean line, or as clean a line as I can manage to get. Now, some people out there can do these things amazingly well, and certainly wouldn't make any claims to be a great painter. Oh, I was watching it, or listening to this thing on the radio the other day about people that make sculptures. There was a guy that said that he makes sculptures which are sort of a millimetre across. He paints them. He actually makes his own tools, and he would get a tiny piece of diamond, wedge it into the end of a syringe, and he would use that, and I can't remember what the other thing was, using something else ridiculously fine. Oh, just like the bent tip of another syringe, I think. And you would use one as a manipulator. You'd use the tiny piece of diamond to cut, and you'd use one of his own very fine eyelashes as a paintbrush. So he would actually paint them, which makes me feel like I don't really have any excuse. But on the same note, he also said he was kind of on the autistic end of the spectrum, and he actually sat down and controlled his breath and heart rate in order to do this. So don't underestimate the power of controlling your breath. Not breathing. Breathing does cause your body to move, and especially if you're doing this kind of fine detail work, you may find that it makes a difference. So, if you can see that, it's pretty clean. In fact, this side, if you just see it, needs to be cut back a tiny bit more. See, it's just getting the paint to catch the line right, and I don't want to get it wrong. But also don't want the line to be too wide. Maybe something very silly. I'm just going to leave it like that for a moment, so like as you can see, it maintains the blue stripe down it. As I was saying earlier, I'll probably run a highlight, mix a bit of white paint in with the fluorescent blue, but we'll see. And I'll probably darken up the purple a bit as well. I quite like the idea of it being an almost black purple, but that's for later. This is just a show, so I'm just going to get the other guys done and then I will get back to you. Okay, so here we are with purple visors done. Next thing, I'm just going to block in the guns. I'm going to do them light grey ultimately, so I'm just starting off with a, call it a heavy blue grey, and I'm literally just going to block them in. It might even be that I keep this as simple as blocking them in light grey and use a thinned out black ink wash or just a black ink wash. I'll probably just lay black ink on and then remove it or water it down once it's on in situ if I don't like the tonality of it, which you'll see after one brush stroke, so it's not really a big deal with ink. Once you start trying to coat large areas and then realise you don't like it, well, that can be problematic. But you can always use a good old-fashioned dry brush or just rebase coat and repaint the whole thing. But I prefer to avoid that if I possibly can. The thing about base coating is you find out how much of the miniature you missed. And I think this is actually an incredibly useful. This is one of the reasons I base coat the whole thing. I mean, some people, I think these days, some people paint like each piece meticulously, and don't get me wrong, if you can do it that way and it suits you, then it's absolutely fine. But I find I just have a tendency to miss bits, and also in the past having painted miniatures en masse, sort of helped it. I used to paint 15mm Starkles a lot. A guy called Ken, who's still at Plymouth Association War Gamers, and you see this. Hi Ken, I hope you're doing well. I also did a bit of work for a guy called Kevin from Plymouth Association World Gamers, and I hope you're doing really well as well. Those guys kind of re-mentored me in painting and how to paint. So yeah, as you can see, I'm just not even particularly carefully, just blocking in the grey, and just going to pick out the handle as well. I'm also going to do the pistol handles also in the light grey, partly just to keep consistency and partly because otherwise I'll probably do them like some kind of wooden handle, and these are meant to be nomads, so I imagine that they'd be much more sort of plastic acrylic material orientated, so it somehow feels more appropriate to give them these sort of acrylic synthetic material kind of colours. It's very in keeping with my understanding. Okay, I'm doing something very silly. I'm reaching from behind. No, just to get hard to reach places. Kind of a dumb move, but yeah, so as you can see, just blocking it in, simple ink wash will then generate any additional detail. Don't want to miss any bits getting underneath the handle. The other thing I like about base coating in time is like this. It gives you a sense of what it's going to look like when it's finished. I've still got the straps to do. Oh, the belt and the straps on the comm logs. But yeah, you can pretty much see what the miniature will, what the overall colour scheme of the miniature now, and yeah, I'm actually pretty happy. Even the purple and blue contrast, I really like that. It doesn't look totally rubbish. Okay, so again, I'll just block brush these guys and I'll get back to you. There's the grey blocked in. Just one last thing. I'm going to be using brown for straps, so just going to drop in the brown. I know it's kind of a leather look. I'm a bit old school in that respect. I know I said earlier I thought they'd use synthetic materials, but maybe they just got a bit nostalgic. Maybe this is synthetic. This isn't real. It's just, and I might take it up to a sort of a beigey brown. No, I think it'll go a reddy brown for contrast's sake. And then the last thing I'll do is all the sort of clasps and things, but I'll actually do them as just a spot detail, I think, because these are such finely cast miniatures and they are not, well, they're easy to paint. I mean, the detail takes the paint so beautifully, but on the same note, they're not easy to paint because they're so detailed. Hats off to Corvus Belly. They make beautiful minis. Let me start to encounter the problem of assembling first, which is stuff hides. Quite an interesting part of this whole game for me is always the debate I find myself having with how much hides and how much should you really try to get into the bits which are very much hidden from me. So it's just a few details. And the other bit is to get this in on the arm strap as well. And my brush is starting to split, which is kind of irritating. And when that's happening, my advice is ideally buy a new brush. Lacking that luxury, give it a quick rinse and then stick it in your mouth and suck it into a tip. And that should not be erotic, but you may find it so if you so desire. But you may find that you have to reshape the tip of your brush pretty regularly. That is the best way to do it. It's the best way I've found to do it anyway. Just getting these final details, and they really do make a difference. Just gonna, it sort of just clips like a tiny little. And then maybe I should have done this first. Not sure. It'll all work out in the end. If in doubt, pick a line, stick to it. Don't worry too much about whether that line is real or not. And how you paint it will make it real. So there you go. I'll get back to you once I've just done all these little straps on all of them and give you a quick look at them all, and that'll be it for today. I mean, I think I've been painting for about, I don't know, 6 hours now. Yeah, it was a bit overcast this morning. And I know it's actually heading into night time now. Not quite what I had intended, but there you go. Okay, so here's the final result of today's base coating. Just going to give you a quick twizz. Hope you approve. So you can see I did their pouches in the same colour. They're sort of going for the light grey plastic, almost like they've got the ammo strapped to the exterior of their webbing, so that it's easy to access. I couldn't imagine anything more frustrating than running out of ammunition and having to dig into a pouch. So I'm assuming they're using some kind of snap to your mechanism. Okay, I hope you like. I think that turned out pretty well. Cheers, take care everybody.